Hang in there, it is! Smylie Kaufman for 61. Wow.
I'm Smylie Kaufman, and this is The Smylie Show.
Well, here we are. It's the end of the Ryder Cup. You can hear the ambiance in the background, the European fans celebrating the fact that they originally retained the Ryder Cup. They got to 14 points by virtue of Shane Lowry's birdie on 18, eventually won another full point. They win this thing 15-13. Smylie, what a crazy day it was today. I mean, we're coming to the course, we're thinking, can the Europeans get to 20 points? Could this be one of the worst losses in Ryder Cup history? What we got instead is one of the more exciting Sundays in Ryder Cup history, and you were out there covering multiple different groups. You talked to Graham McDowell on the front end of this about just what it's like being out there on the course and hearing the murmurs and the energy and excitement build. How did you feel it when you were out there today on the broadcast?
Well, what a day that I definitely will not forget. And shout out to Jax and Charlie for their first Ryder Cups to get a Sunday like this. I mean, are you kidding me? Like, this is a day I'm definitely not going to forget. Just all of it felt like it was going to be a dud today. I think everybody woke up and said, man, how bad are they going to win, like you said. But what the Europeans did not experience at all this week was any sense of momentum from the American players, the crowd, the energy. And to me, that was the storyline of Sunday, because a little bit surprising, but understandably, because Luke Donald has been on the offensive with his lineups, and you knew American was going to have to front load. And he decided to front load when you could have made a case of putting those guys in the middle of the deal to maybe go up against lesser matchups. And once the Americans turn the corner on the 18th hole with the Cam Young win, the JT win, Bryson DeChambeau losing his first 5 out of his first 7 holes, coming back to tie that match. And suddenly you started looking at the board and you're like, okay, I see a bunch of tied matches, but I don't see any blue on the board. So there was hope. The American fans felt it, the players felt it, but I think where we have to start in this debate, and this was a talking point that I think is going to continue on for a while now, is before the day started, there were 12 matches, went down to 11 matches, and I think you're going to hear a lot about this in the post press conference for the American players maybe disagreeing with this rule. How are you able to give a half point to this? I know it doesn't change a ton besides, what they had, the points they had to retain was 14. You get through?
You want to get through? Oh, no, we're in the middle of a show. So, hey, thank you. Someone's over here trying to get in the show. Hey, see you later. But, I think you make a good point where you're talking about the Victor Hovland, the half-point situation. What do you do about that? I mean, I understand that in the case of an injury, you're trying to kind of come up with a reasonable solution for both sides. Obviously, Victor Hovland didn't wish for himself to be injured. We even talked a little bit on last night's show. Is a little bit of gamesmanship, or would you just take the half point and know it gets you 1 half point closer? Well, how do you feel about that rule?
For me, I had an opportunity to speak with Victor Hovland, and I said, "Bummer, Victor. Sorry to hear about your injury." Pat him on the back, and he did one of these. And if anybody's ever had a neck injury or something cramp up in your shoulder, you know you have no mobility. Could he have played through it? Gosh, I don't know, but I talked to his caddy, and he said it's a very similar injury that he had earlier this season at the Travelers. It just happened to be on the different side. It's a huge bummer for Harris English, who works his tail off to want to be a part of, an incredible Sunday like we experienced today, to not feel like he had an opportunity to go win that full point, because it could have been the difference, like that full point could have changed the complexion of this Ryder Cup.
If it finishes 14-14, we're definitely talking about it. Even if you get to 14.5 to 13.5, you're probably still talking about it. You get to 15-13, and you're a little bit clear of that. Even if Victor loses the match, they still win 14.5 to 13.5, as we see the European team wearing their flags down here. Okay, before we were so rudely interrupted by the Ryder Cup trophy presentation.
Hey, what the heck, Cara?
Come on now, we're trying to do a show here. I was saying, this is a non sequitur, but I saw Vic out there, and I was thinking to myself, Vic, I got surgery done on my neck here in New York City, and the last time I saw you had a neck brace on. Do I go tap him on the shoulder and say, you need disc surgery? Like, you need a guy? I got a guy for you.
What I hear, bulging disc was kind of what was reported on the deal. By the way, did you hear about my reporting today?
Tell me.
Did you hear about the, I think it's called the Cherry Fizz? Have you heard about this?
No.
Okay, so Bones talked about how he said that, I guess, with he was following Rory and Scotty, and that apparently people had snuck in little rubber ducks into the golf course. And then I'd gotten some texts from some buddies who had been here earlier in the week. It said, no. That's the limited edition Ryder Cup duck. Because he had said that they were squeaking it, and it was bothering Rory. But this duck was on top of the Cherry Fizz alcohol drink that was served at the golf course all week. It's called like the Cherry Fizz. And so I got on like our talk back, and I'm like, hey, our producer's name's Tommy. I was like, Tommy, they didn't sneak him in. They got him on top of their drinks. He's like, what? And I was like, I'm telling you, this was, they weren't just squeaking in, or they weren't sneaking in these rubber ducks.
They were sneaking in the squeak.
Yeah.
The squeak was already here.
I just thought that was a hilarious storyline that I never expected today, was to hear about the squeaky ducks.
That was some great field reporting on the hard-hitting issues, by the way. I mean,
Classic that I'm reporting on the alcoholic drinks in the middle of an NBC broadcast, but that's neither here nor there.
Sometimes that's how it goes.
You can cash that.
You can cash that, just like your prediction on Aim Point. Here's what I kind of feel like, Smylie. This was movie and sequel. Yeah. I mean, because you almost have to split it up into the Friday-Saturday version of this, which is Europe having one of the greatest performances in the history of the Ryder Cup, you know, statistically, points-wise, putting, all those things. And you almost have to take that and separate that from what we saw today, which was nearly the greatest comeback in Ryder Cup history. And it probably, if you go back and look at it, we don't have the stats. We're recording literally right as the last putt dropped. But in my mind, if the largest deficit overcome was 4 points, and they are 7 points back to start the day, and they end up 2 points short.
Yeah.
They made up 5 points. I mean, you know,
they only won one match today. Only one match today. Just insane.
Truly insane.
But you're right. It was a task that felt insurmountable. One that I felt like wasn't possible. Yeah. And I think just the fans that showed up today, I thought really brought a lot of energy. It would have been easy for these fans to kind of give up on these guys, but they fought so hard. The players never got more than, gosh, early in the day, there was some blue on the board, but even in the matches that were kind of going that way, the matches besides Fitzy never got more than like 1 or 2 up. Yeah. And the guys hung tough. A ton of birdies. Russell Henley fought his butt off. He's going to, of course, be the talking point, the putts that he had potentially to win his match. But it doesn't come down to one player. It doesn't come down to the stroke of any player. But, gosh, Shane Lowry has just gone into Irish folklore. The amount of stuff that he's been able to accomplish, winning the Open Championship at home, and now having the winning putt on the 18th green at Bethpage to win a away Ryder Cup, which has not happened since 2012 at Medina. But golly, an epic day, an epic day. But there's so much more to talk about with this Ryder Cup and storylines.
Well, I mean, Shane was saying that as much as that Open Championship win meant, this meant more to him, which that truly speaks volumes for where he won that, the fashion in which he won that. I mean, the meaning to these guys, I think, is incredible. I don't want to stray too far from the competition. We can come back, but you mentioned the fans a little bit, and I wonder where we end up on the fan thing today, because me personally, what I heard and saw, it went back and forth from that's clever to this really doesn't feel good. Like being out there on Saturday, being with Rory and Shane, some of the things that were said, I was no longer enjoying being a part of the Ryder Cup, hearing the things that were said. And today I thought it was tamer to start, and really when the U.S. started winning. And this I think is the main factor. It's like if this thing would have been closer and more of it would have been energy for the United States side and cheering those guys on, it doesn't get as chippy and negative. But when they go down in that fashion, the only thing left to do is kind of rip on the Europeans. I really only heard one comment today that I really did not love. It was a comment about Tommy Fleetwood's wife, that he actually looked up and sort of acknowledged, and Luke Donald said something to him coming off the green. So I just, I go back and forth on this. I think there's part of this that is, you want to make the game accessible to all, grow it to all, bring new fans in, but golf isn't just about hitting a white ball around and getting it into a hole. There's a whole embedded culture and set of values here that are supposed to come with the game. And when it gets reduced to what it was at times this week, it's not a good feel.
Now let's get to a player who was taken in the first round of every fantasy football draft, and thus far, it's produced the least points, George. I mean, I thought you'd just take a rookie running back in the first round and you get yourself 1,500 yards and 10 touchdowns. But Boise State's Ashton Jeanty for the Las Vegas Raiders, we got out of excuses, right? Like at this point, it's they got to give him the ball more. They got to do this. They got to do that. I mean, George, does this guy look like Barry Sanders? Like that was the comparisons? Like I haven't seen any of that yet.
Our panicometer, all right, doesn't go high enough here. All right, because this is, I mean, come on, we're freaking out here. I don't think it's all Jeanty, by the way. He has more yards after contact than before contact. That pretty much lets you know what the problem is there. All right, the Raiders needed a running back, sure, but they need an offensive line. All right, they need a couple of offensive linemen. It's not something you can fix in one off season here. So yeah, we're gonna eat it with Jeanty. He's not gonna be worth the first round pick in fantasy. It's just not. Not this year. In future years, we'll see here, but not this year. The offensive line is not very good. The defense is not very good, so they have to throw the ball more in the second mix. They're trailing every game, so that's hurting us as well here. So, yeah, like I said, the panicometer, it doesn't go high enough for this, okay? I am more than concerned. I am not calm. I am critical. I am flipping out.
Isn't there going to be a time where he just breaks it free? George, like, what you said is not false. But I think there's a point being missed here. Why has he not broken free one time the whole season? Not once. To just run away. Like, he's Devin Singletary right now. No offense to Devin Singletary, but that's who he is.
Fantasy Sports Today. Fridays starting at 3 p.m. Eastern. Only on SportsGrid.
I don't want to stray too far from the competition. We can come back, but you mentioned the fans a little bit, and I wonder where we end up on the fan thing today, because me personally, what I heard and saw, it went back and forth from that's clever to this really doesn't feel good. Like being out there on Saturday, being with Rory and Shane, some of the things that were said, I was no longer enjoying being a part of the Ryder Cup, hearing the things that were said. And today I thought it was tamer to start, and really when the U.S. started winning, and this I think is the main factor. It's like if this thing would have been closer and more of it would have been energy for the United States side and cheering those guys on, it doesn't get as chippy and negative. But when they go down that fashion, the only thing left to do is kind of rip on the Europeans. I really only heard one comment today that I really did not love. It was a comment about Tommy Fleetwood's wife, that he actually looked up and sort of acknowledged, and Luke Donald said something to him coming off the green. So I just, I go back and forth on this. I think there's part of this that is, you want to make the game accessible to all, grow it to all, bring new fans in, but golf isn't just about hitting a white ball around and getting it into a hole. There's a whole embedded culture and set of values here that are supposed to come with the game. And when it gets reduced to what it was at times this week, it's not a good feel. And I don't know how you put that genie back in the bottle, because if you go to Adair Manor, there are a lot of Irish dudes that like to drink beer, and they're going to remember what happened here, and they're going to do the same thing when you go back there, I think.
It definitely got out of hands at times, for sure. And these guys probably were so bothered by everything that came at them this week, and they had to experience it when the crowds were a little lighter. Not crowds, but maybe the crowd noise, to where you hear more, because you didn't have these crowd pops like we had today on Sunday that was happening earlier in the week. So everything just seemed to stand out a little bit more. But because it was so loud, I mean, I saw every single person yell at Fitzy as he was walking to the 18th tee where he was playing Bryson DeChambeau. And I can promise you, none of them were very nice words. And I don't even know if Fitzy would have heard it, because it was that loud. And hey, this is the one event where you have a true away game. We're so used to it in every other sport. Is it wrong that the guys are saying negative things? Absolutely. I don't condone that whatsoever. But it does make for an insane atmosphere. I hope it gets cleaned up a little bit, but it's part of winning an away game in this sport. I think it's the one time that we can really have crowds and energy like this that isn't comparable to any other week that we have, which makes the Ryder Cup what it is. So we'll see. Hopefully the next time we have a home Ryder Cup, there's going to be some plans in place, but you can't do anything about stupid, you know?
We're going to Minnesota. It's like nicest people on earth. I don't think we're going to have any issues. Yeah. Jackson's going to make sure they're all in line up there.
I guess
the Upers. Is that the Upers? Is that Michigan? That's used to be Michigan.
The one thing I want to bring
Same
up
thing, right?
is just Friday, Saturday. You know, we talked so much about all the right strings that the Europeans pulled with the lineups, how well they play, having an answer for every single test, and being as many points as they were up heading into Sunday. I still point to, gosh, they only lost this Ryder Cup by 2 points. Can you imagine if there was a couple tweaks here and there with the lineups? I would be heading back to headquarters for Team USA and saying, who are our stats guys? Is this the best plan that we have from a stats perspective? Because you can pick holes for certain lineups that happened this week that controversially, maybe the Europeans, of course, have these great partnerships and they play well together. And when you separate them, they don't play quite as well. I don't know. The Americans got to find answers in these partnerships, and I think they need to look at their who's making these decisions from a stat standpoint.
Well, it's so funny to me, especially coming off of the Walker Cup just a few weeks before, how it just seems like there's this glaring chasm between American partnered match play and American individual, singles match play. And it's, the Walker Cup, which historically is tilted in the Americans' favor because it's just Great Britain and Ireland. GB and I actually won on aggregate in the foursomes format, and then it's got boat race and singles. And then here today, or not today, but just this entire week here at Bethpage Black, it was once again just no matter what the format, foursomes, four-ball, the Europeans found an edge, and they just really had a lot of combinations that work. But then you get to singles, and all these guys who've struggled all week really shine.
Yeah.
And so I think it's absolutely to your point. What is the plan? Is it more analytics? Is it different guys with different mentality? Because I even wonder if there's part of this that is using captain's picks on guys that aren't necessarily statistically best over the course of the year, but the guys are just match play dogs. Well, like what happens if a Brian Harmon's here? What happens if a Patrick Reed is here? Or a Jordan Spieth? These guys that just love those sorts of moments. Maybe not the best player on form, but guys who love to come here and compete. That's a question I ask.
I think they're definitely, you can make a case about the dog mentality that you need to play well in Ryder Cups and not having too many rookies and because of the atmosphere. I think form's important, though. I really do think form's important, and course fit specifically, because Bethpage, when you look at this place at the end of the week, it favored the Bombers. If there was a stroke play tournament, I think majority of the field would have been at the top of the leaderboard would have been the guys that hit it far. Doesn't mean that the short guys can't play well, but in a partner standpoint, there seem to be disadvantages that the Americans had this week. But I look at the European team and why they were so good this week. Well, you got the top-end talent. They performed very well, no doubt about it. There's some guys that definitely are entering some Ryder Cup war from the European side that have official stamp. You got Rory, of course, now winning away Ryder Cup, being a part of two of them, finishing the Grand Slam off. But there was just such a good balance for this European team. I think it eventually outweighed the Americans. Just the form, the veterans, the top-end guys, where then you look at the Americans, and it was the question marks coming into this Ryder Cup, not having necessarily built-in partnerships. And do you head into Adair Manor feeling like you have definite partnerships? I don't right now, because there was no answers on Friday and Saturday. So you're still going to have the same question marks heading to Ireland that they had coming into this week, which is, who do you pair with Scotty Scheffler? Is Bryson DeChambeau, who are you pairing him with? Because when we look at the scoreboard and we see him 13 points for America, and that Scotty Scheffler and Bryson only had 2.5 of those points, actually that doesn't feel right, because Bryson won a half point with Cam Young, and then he won a singles match today. Yes. And then Scotty won a singles match today. I think that is 2.5 points. Right? I can't remember how. My brain is mush. Yeah. I apologize. But regardless of the fact, not as many points as you would assume that your two best players on the team would have.
Shadur, which quarterbacks are you talking about? Because there's some bad quarterback play out there, but the dude who can't beat Dylan Gabriel out for a job and can't beat Joe Flacco out for a job certainly can't lay claim to being better than any other quarterback in the league.
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
That's a lot for a closer. 10. That's you're not a closer anymore if you blow 10 games. I mean, my goodness. That's
He's mentally broken too. Like, it's to the point where, like, Dodger fans aren't even mad at him; they're more mad at the Dodgers for putting him out there.
Putting him in.
Right? It's more so.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, guys, like, he's done.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Major League Baseball has decided it is time to put balls and strikes not just in the hands of the umpires, but also the robot umpires, as they say. The ABS system is now officially in place starting next season. Now, keep in mind, they're not just throwing this out there. They have used this at the Arizona Fall League, and they've also used it at different levels of the minor leagues as well.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Everything changed at that point. They went and got Jonquil Jones, and they really had that triple threat monster team. That second year they lost in the WNBA Finals, 3-1 against the Las Vegas Aces. Year 3, they finally get over the top hump. You can question whether they should have won the title with that foul call late in Game 5 that sent Breanna Stewart to the foul line.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Getting back to the drawing boards, that would be the deal, is figuring out, okay, how can we set ourselves up, especially for home matches, to be very, very successful. And it seems like the course setup, Bethpage, and how soft the greens were, how long it played, it definitely was an advantage for Europe from my mind, and they putted better.
Well, but do you think, in a weird way, that same setup is what allows the Americans to get back in it today? You know, because you do see a lot of those big putts made.
Yeah.
It's this weird sort of dice roll where if you turn it into as much of a putting contest as Bethpage Black can be, does it then become, you can move the needle any sort of direction? Like, that's how they get back in the match today.
Well, I had felt coming into this Ryder Cup that 1 to 12, and when you look at it, just the strokes gained data across the board, the Americans had more depth. I felt comfortable about the singles if they were tied or just even a little behind, that they could go and win this Ryder Cup. That is over the last, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, not over the course of history.
Yes.
This is coming into this Ryder Cup. Now, were there players that were playing better than others? Yeah, that was the biggest question mark, is the guys with experience from the American team didn't necessarily have the form coming in. And the one guy that, really two guys, I felt like JT, Colin Morikawa, and Xander Schauffele, I felt like they needed 2 of those 3 to play well this week, because you just didn't know how the rookies were going to perform. But they got inspired performances from JT. You saw some really good stuff from Xander Schauffele. Colin Morikawa
4-3 today from John Rahm.
Yeah, Colin Morikawa didn't necessarily have the week that he wanted, and you can definitely make a case about him being out in foursomes. Could he have been better in the 4-ball? Harris, I felt like, and Ben Griffin were misused this week. I felt like Ben should have maybe gone out again in the afternoon because of how well he's been playing. And you saw it this afternoon playing some really good golf. You could have definitely poked some holes at the lineups. And it's not like that Keegan and those guys didn't feel good about it. The Europeans just played a little bit better. But when it comes down to just 2 points, you try to find holes in why the U.S. didn't get it done.
What do you think the ending, sort of the closing narrative, is going to be on this captaincy for Keegan Bradley? Because we talked about this all week long, and it's easy, again, to Monday morning quarterback, to Monday morning captain these things, right? We talked about coming in, we had questions about certain captain's picks that were used, right? We had questions about the course setup. We had questions about choosing to play foursomes first instead of four ball. We had questions, as you just noted there, about some of the pairings, the Morikawa English pairing, things like that. And then you get here and it doesn't pan out well, and then they're in one of the deepest holes after 2 days in Ryder Cup history. And then you have the press conference last night where he's being asked about the fan behavior, and you know, so a reporter kind of asks a question in a way that says, are you saying that it's your players' fault that these guys, that the fans are acting like this because they're playing so bad? And he kind of bristles with that question. And you're sitting there on Saturday night and you're thinking, man, this could go really, really bad for Keegan. And then we get to Sunday and everything happens that happens. And you know, I'm standing there watching Justin Thomas after he makes that birdie on 18. What an amazing comeback for him. And to hit that shot from the right rough on 18 and land it perfectly and give himself that opportunity to make that putt. And once he gets done with all of his interviews, the first person he's looking for is a Cap. Goes over and gives Keegan a big hug. I mean, these guys, it seems like they loved playing for Keegan. And so I wonder how much that narrative changes from where we stood just less than 24 hours ago to where we are now on what people are going to say about the type of captain Keegan Bradley was here at Bethpage.
Well, all the things that I just talked about how you could pick holes in the lineups, this and that. But as time goes on, we're going to remember the comeback at Bethpage where the Americans almost won and almost did something historic. And plenty of the vice captains that I talked to walking down the fairways, we're just saying, can you believe that we got a chance to win this? And I think that's a reflection of the captain and the guys believing that they had a chance to win today. I think many other captains would have, nobody's going to ever throw in the bag. The players certainly aren't going to throw in the bag. But it was an inspired performance from these guys as my cart shows up. Thank you, Mikey. Thank you, Mikey.
This is
Joey,
primo.
look at these guys.
Look at this. This is white glove service. Yeah, let's get the camera on this.
Shout out to the boys.
Here we go. Shout out to the boys with the golf carts. That's good news for Mr. Kaufman.
Yeah, good news for my flight. Mikey, thanks, buddy. Thanks, Joey.
We need like a countdown too on like, you know, real time right now to when Smylie has to check in for his flight and leave for his flight.
Yeah, I gotta get home. Yeah, shout out to my wife who's hopefully not chasing our 2.5-year-old around as we're having a child next week. So getting home tonight is paramount. So we're, I mean, obviously going to be just getting on the plane tonight and just being like, what the heck just happened? Because this was seriously a day that I'll never forget. It's why I love what I do. You know, walking down these fairways, being on the call for, really I was on Shane's group too, just to be a part of the call on that 18th is really a dream come true for me that I didn't know I had a dream of having at any point in my life.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
They know the minutia of game time decisions, when to call timeouts, when the kick, go for 2, and all that other stuff better than the head coaches, because the head coaches aren't watching 30, 35 games like sports fans are between college football and the NFL. All the head coaches are doing are watching game films. They may be watching 30 game films, but they're not watching game management. So the fan does know.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
To put up a shut-up time for some of these teams that have scheduled nothing but cupcakes, Donnie, to start the season without truly being tested. Are you, right, Miami, they've played ranked teams over and over and over and just beat Florida as well. So, some of these teams like Penn State, what are we going to get from them?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
It's the most beautiful time of the year. No, not because of foliage or pumpkin spice lattes. It's because of football. SportsGrid has you covered all season long, covering every snap, every score, and every line move. Prepare, watch, win. Weekends are for winners. Only on SportsGrid.
You said this to us after the Ryder Cup in Rome this is one of my favorite, not my favorite sporting events I've ever been to.
Oh, so much fun, isn't it?
And I'll say for Jackson, I'm curious to hear from Jackson once we know this record, or we can just have Jackson come over here and we can interview
Jackson
him.
might have to close this thing out if I got to catch this flight.
That's right. If you close this flight out, it's going to be Jackson and I talking about our first Ryder Cup experience. But I think what a strange week. I mean, the Ryder Cup experience in and of itself, I thought was amazing. And just the intensity and the passion from both sides and really enjoying the European fans and the songs they bring. Yeah. It's unlike any golf event that you're ever going to go to. And then on top of that, just seeing the passion of the players.
Sure.
That's just so different. I mean, just Shane's reaction on 18 says it all. It's like you don't see reactions from guys like that winning majors individually.
Yeah.
And it just speaks to what it is. And then you layer on top of that just the way this thing seesawed back and forth. I mean, I thought for all the bad there was, and I think it's fair to say, listen, we get it. The fans, some of the stuff crossed the line. We got to figure out a way to kind of get the genie back in the bottle there. This needs to be a respectful thing. But just the spectacle that this event is, there's nothing like it, man. This is truly unique and incredible stuff.
When you look at the Sunday singles and you look down the list, what surprised you the most today of the results? Like, was there one match that you felt like was one that was unexpected to you? Because when I look at it, I would have said, if we're standing right here and the Americans almost had a chance to win, I would have said that Patty Ice would have for sure beaten Ludwig Oberg. That's the result. The only win today was Ludwig Oberg. Not to say that Ludwig's not capable of beating Patty Ice, but on a day in which the Americans have their best, he's been the one that's been so rock solid this week that you wouldn't have had a question about. And Ludwig got a huge point winning on the 17th hole. So that would be my answer. What about you?
I'd say probably, and not that Xander Schauffele's been bad this week, but he just hasn't been his usual self, and he's missed some uncharacteristic putts. When I was following, and I wasn't even with this group, but when I looked up and I saw that he beat John Rahm, one of Europe's steadiest performers, 4-3, I was like, is that a misprint? Did they take that from another match? How in the heck?
Yeah.
I think that one was pretty stunning. I think Bryson being 4 down at one point and coming all the way back to scrape a point, I thought for sure, as you saw in 18, everyone was missing that putt on the left side of the hole. And I was just hoping that in Bryson's science brain, he just would have somehow topographically read that thing right and made that birdie. Because could you imagine the lid going off on this place if Bryson buries a birdie from downtown to win a point there?
That was I had a chance to look at that lie from Bryson. It was a heavier kind of lie in the grass. It wasn't sitting down like in some hard pan. Like there was enough on it to where I felt like he could have done better with that in that moment. But in
his approach, you're saying from the right rough,
I think the way he hits golf shots, I feel like sometimes hurts him in moments. And in a moment like that, I felt like it was, if he would have had a normal length iron, like a normal length wedge, I mean, he hit this thing to the moon. I would have thought that most players would have been able to bring that in low and get it to tumble all the way to that back pin. So it was really surprising he tried to just swing through this heavier grass to hit it up in the air instead of trying to get steep and get it to chase back. Not to say he fought his tail off and got the half point, but I felt like he needed to putt before Matt, because Matt hit such a poor wedge shot into the green. Especially when you're reeling like that, you're just like, what a gift it seemed like it was for Bryson to putt first instead of second,
and even give him maybe a little bit.
Yeah, because Fitzy knew what he needed to do. He saw the read exactly.
This is a little bit of a diversion, but this type of stuff fascinates me because it was just. I'll tell you what the coolest part of this for me was just being able to be inside the ropes the last couple of days and just watch these guys work up close. And I went out today. I was like, man, the way Tommy Fleetwood's played this week, I cannot leave without just watching him hit the golf ball a few more holes. And I went out there expecting Tommy. And what I got was just an incredible show from Justin Thomas as well.
At what point was that? What
I
hole?
picked him up at 10. I watched him 10 through 18, and I saw all sorts of different shots. And I'm curious, they both had lies out of the right rough on 15. And I've just been paying attention to all the things they're doing at their grip and things like that. I know this is like golf nerd guy here.
Jax, this is all right. I'm in. Go ahead. Yeah, I'm tuned in.
Can we go there?
Yeah, where are we?
Permission to go there. Permission to go there. Do you? If you're expecting a ball to come out of the rough right to left, right? it felt like both those guys got a little weaker with their low hand out of the rough to kind of allow it to cut, maybe take away the severity of the right to left movement. Do you change your grip at all out of lies out of the rough?
Yes. Maybe just opening the face just slightly.
Okay.
Just to keep the club from turning over, and you're coming down a little steeper on it. So you're not trying to sweep it out of rough, but this week you almost could have gotten away with sweeping it out of the rough because it was not a challenge whatsoever. It's a good observation from you, because for the most part I didn't see anybody struggle like with lies, figuring out stuff out of the rough. But the one other thing I want to talk about from today that was an interesting storyline that kind of developed was on the 13th hole. It was a match that I was walking with Cam Young and Justin Rose, which was a pivotal match in trying to get red on the board early. And Cam, he's coming off of a win where it was gifted a hole at the 12th, where he's 3 up now, heading into 13. And Rosie gets the mini driver out, has like 290 to the pin at 13. Hits this big old tailing right shot. If you've been to the 13th at Bethpage, it's a huge slope right of the green, and the ball went 75 yards right of the pin, all the way down to the hill, in some almost some bricks that had some grass in between it, but clear relief was given.
So wait, okay, can I pause here, because that's why there was that long stop from the group behind it, where they came up into the green. That's what was happening.
You want to know what happened? All right,
please.
So they get down there, and there's this little patch of grass behind where the bricks are. So Justin Rose has an opportunity to drop on this steep slope that the ball is going to be above his feet, take a drop, and really the only way he was going to have a shot is if the drop rolled out of the tee line. So you got to keep it within the tees, or if it gets on the cart path, and you get to place it. And so I'm thinking to myself, I think it's steep enough to where he's going to be able to drop it close enough to his tee. The ball's going to roll down the hill, and he's going to place it. And he's going to have a difficult shot, but he's got an alleyway and an opportunity. And Cam Young was inside of 10 feet. And so he takes one drop. And now this is 5 minutes into the whole process. Like, it's taking too long. And all of a sudden, before he takes his second drop, there were questions asked, whether it was from Justin or his caddy Fooch, and a rules official standing by, of looking at potentially other options instead of dropping it again. And so now all of a sudden Fooch is now running up to the green to look at potentially moving to take a drop on the tee at 14. So with that structure behind 14, you had an option to take no closer to the hole, nearest point of relief, and go drop it on the tee at 14. So we're talking about 30 to 50 yards over on the other side on top of the hill. And Fooch walked off a yardage all the way to the tee at 14, but it made no sense to me at all that we're wasting this much time because there were trees in the way. It never seemed like an option unless you hit this like mega flop. And so they're going through this process. Now we're 10 minutes in. All of a sudden Keegan, he comes driving up because the vice captains are sending on communications to Keegan, hey, you need to get up here because they're slow playing this whole rules situation. And so Keegan comes flying down the hill, runs up to the ref, and says, you've got to speed up this ruling. This is taking entirely too long. And basically asking for, you need to show me what's going down here. Like, why is he able to get a drop up here? That was explained. Eventually, Justin decided just to drop in that same little strip. And then he has 75 yards, hits this shot that takes a little bit of a fortunate kick out of the rough, spins up there, and he's somehow got 4 feet for birdie. And this was a 15-minute ordeal.
Yeah.
Remember, he's 3 up. Cam Young is. And now Cam Young misses a putt. Justin Rose makes. Justin Rose birdies the next hole and is somehow 1 down heading into 15. And the only last thing I'll say is that walking down the 14th hole, Keegan is wearing out this rules official.
Wow.
That team are going to stretch him over the top, but I still think it's blue-collar football, Big Ten style.
That's where USC has struggled. I do not think Lincoln Riley, I'm sorry, is a good head coach. He's a great quarterback whisperer. He coaches from an offensive coordinator position, doesn't make halftime adjustments, and that's where I give the edge to Bielema. I don't like this game, but I would take the points with Illinois.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
There were some reports earlier this week that Russell Wilson may be sought after somewhat during the trade deadline. A lot of people have been talking about Jameis shipping him to the Bengals as they just need a quarterback to throw the ball. I think they need to move Russell Wilson out. Even though he says he does not want to be moved, you got to get back an asset if you can.
Oh, you do. Does he go to a team like the Saints? Where does he go?
Pro Football Today. Only on SportsGrid.
It's time to sell high. Let's sell high now, Joe. Give me some sneaky sneakies. What do you got?
Yeah, it's Matt's favorite way to sell. Everybody knows that. All right, let's talk about David Montgomery. Look, Montgomery had a big total last week, but really most of it was on one big run. I still feel like Jahmyr Gibbs is the guy here as you continue to move forward with Detroit. I'm not saying you have to get rid of him for nothing.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.
It's the most beautiful time of the year. No, not because of foliage or pumpkin spice lattes. It's because of football. SportsGrid has you covered all season long, covering every snap, every score, and every line move. Prepare, watch, win. Weekends are for winners. Only on SportsGrid.
The rules officials need to be more direct, and if a player asks what their options are, they need to tell them what they are and be quick in the process. A player can't slow play a situation like what happened at the 13th hole today, because I felt like it crossed the line, because you owe it to the player you're playing with to play with a pace that is supposed to be respectful. I thought it got out of hand there at 13 with the drop. Yes, it was confusing and challenging to figure out, but that's why you have 3 rules officials walking with every single group to be able to give quick feedback on what the players' options are. So that was one of the many gamesmanship things that happened this week. And hey, he's played more Ryder Cup matches than anybody, and that momentum of that whole situation turned in his favor. And Cam Young made the putt at 18, which he was the better player today.
Right.
So, but Justin Rose, what a week, golly.
Well, still here in New York City on the east side of Manhattan, up at St. Catherine's Park. Still decompressing from an incredible week at Bethpage Black. What a thrilling finish to the Ryder Cup. Amazing to see the Americans show some heart there at the end, make it close. And of course, incredible watching the Europeans put on such a clinical performance the first 2 days. Tommy Fleetwood, Justin Rose, Matt Fitzpatrick, Rory McIlroy, John Rahm, really all the guys on that side played scintillating golf. And it was really cool to be there to witness all of it. We're going to unpack in the final segment of the show, of course, on SportsGrid, just our thoughts from the week. We're even going to get a little some thoughts from Jackson Brown, the man behind the camera, our producer, just what it was like for him to witness all this week, and a really, really fun, cool season of golf coverage from the Smylie Show. Where we're going to go next, though, is Smylie was with the group, the Justin Rose, Tommy Fleetwood, Scotty Scheffler, Bryson DeChambeau group, where there was probably the biggest flashpoint of the Ryder Cup the entire week, the whole aim point fiasco that Smylie called out to begin the week. And it's worth delving into that coverage. It was from our Saturday Night Journal, but worth pulling that back out because Smylie was there calling it, and just a lot of fan thoughts on that on both sides. We wanted you to get our thoughts right after that happened. And of course, from Smiley's point of view, walking with that group. So we're going to get to that right now here on SportsGrid. On our live show on the Ryder Cup YouTube earlier this week on Thursday, I asked you for a very specific prediction, exceptionally specific. And you said, I think that I just have a feeling that something aim point related is going to happen. And you nailed it.
You can cash that.
You nailed it. Not only can you cash it, you were there calling the group and witnessed it.
It was wild.
Can you give us just the play-by-play on? We saw it on TV and we saw the interview after, but just walk us through what happened when you were right there watching the whole thing.
Yeah, totally. So I'm sitting there right on the side of the hill, right on top of the whole deal, and Bryson DeChambeau and Justin Rose both had birdie putts left. Bryson had about 10 feet. Justin had probably about 12 feet. And from where I could where I was sitting, it felt to me like Justin Rose was clearly away, but Bryson was going about his routine like it was his turn. So even when my producer's asking my ear, hey, who's up next? In my mind, I'm thinking, well, it's Justin, but it seems that there's a lot going on with the routine of Bryson DeChambeau. And right as Bryson's caddy, Greg, started to get in on the action of reading the putt as well, going through his process, that's where he got too close to the coin of Justin Rose and his routine. And then, of course, hey, back off. And that's when the fireworks started. It was, in that moment, Justin clearly thought he was away. Greg clearly thought that it was his turn. It was an honest mistake by Bryson's caddy. And a quick, maybe knee-jerk reaction from Justin is probably the best way to describe it. Was it a little on the chippy side and a little over the top? It just depends if you felt like Greg thought Justin was away. If Greg didn't know that Justin was away, then you can understand why the USA side would be upset with how snippy the remark was or how snippy it felt like it was. So with all that going on, Justin makes the putt. Justin Rose makes the putt, and then Greg works his way to the back of the green where Tommy Fleetwood and Justin Rose were sitting, and I'm watching as Greg kind of works his way there and clearly wants to talk about it, and just whether it's apologizing or just, kind of clearing the air a little bit. Then there was some words meant, and I could tell it wasn't quite over. And if Bryson doesn't make the putt, sure, there probably would have been a reaction.
Because that would have ended the match.
It would have ended the match.
In a charged fashion.
There would have been some words exchanged regardless. But when Bryson made the putt, then the adrenaline of the putt came out. Now he's yelling and screaming. He's yelling and screaming at other players. And so you understand Bryson defending his caddy in that situation because he obviously didn't feel like he was in the wrong. And so next thing you know, I'm like, all right, I'm getting in this thing like Bravo TV, and I'm running up the hill with everybody because everybody now is getting in on the action. Tommy Fleetwood's yelling. Ted Scott and Molinari are getting into it. I've never seen Tommy quite get this animated. He's trying to...
That shocked me.
And Fino is his caddy, Tommy Fleetwood's caddy. He's getting after it. And so at one point, I thought we were going to have an all-out WWE brawl. And just insanity. They got to a point where they had to wait on the tee. There was apologies exchanged to where I felt like Scotty and the Fleetwood camp eventually calmed down a little bit. Bryson, I don't think ever quite got over it mentally because he kind of stepped away from it to where he just didn't want to associate it because I felt like it could have really gotten worse from there because Bryson was still heated. Justin was still in this. I mean, dude, the guy played unbelievable golf, like some of the best golf I've ever witnessed.
Do you know how many strokes he gained putting?
I would guess probably 3.5.
4.56 strokes gained putting.
Well, the ball striking was just as good. I mean, we can get into that, of course, just what the day was like following them, but just the overall drama, it felt like it was the storyline today. And then the group in front of us, the Rory and Shane, all of the stuff that happened there, I'm sure you can talk about, but overall, it was a shame that match had to end that way, but I think a little bit of it, too, was just overall frustration from Bryson, and then Teddy was, of course, frustrated by it, but frustration just of how good Bryson and Scotty really played and just getting their butt whooped.
If you look at that match on Data Golf, I mean, it was the definition of fireworks. All four of those guys played phenomenal. And I can imagine frustration from both those guys who were dying to get a point. I mean, Bryson won earlier that morning with Cam Young and the morning foursome session. But Scotty got blanked on the first 2 days of the Ryder Cup this year. It's hard to even fathom. And in that fashion, it's like it feels like he kept getting everyone's best pass. And that's a really, really tough thing.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 circus sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
60,000 drunk New Yorkers who were there from 5 in the morning to 7 p.m., who dropped a house mortgage on a ticket to watch the United States team miss every putt that they can possibly miss, and you think someone's not going to get pissed off and curse people out? Wah! The golf fan wasn't civil. Wah!
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
$341 million of payroll. Best record in Major League Baseball through June 12th. 5th worst record after that. They would have made the playoffs, as his tweet says, because why? They just needed a win on Sunday versus Miami, and they couldn't beat the Marlins. They have like a $50 million payroll. The Metropolitans are out, but hey guys, did you see Juan Soto's great season?
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Not betting wise, action wise. Like I got to watch this game at 12.
I want to see Notre Dame, Arkansas. I want to see.
He's in, people. He's in.
I'll
He's
tell
in
you
on
another
Notre
game.
Dame.
It's under. I want to see Duke and Syracuse at 12:45.
Nobody wants to see that game.
Stop.
I mean, there's people that we know that would like that game, but we don't want to watch that game. You know what I mean? We're not watching any of that game.
Ricky Collins?
Big
Ricky Collins?
game Saturday, Joe.
Okay,
Got to get your focus back for this. It's the SEC.
I'm in
It just means more.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
One thing I want to think about with this singles when we talk about how many matches a player should play to where they are 100% their best self when they play singles. Yeah. If you look at every single player that played 5 matches this week, the only person to win a match, I believe, that played 5 was Scotty. But everybody else lost today. Tommy Fleetwood, John Rahm, Rory McIlroy, all played
Patrick
4
Cantlay.
matches coming in today. Same with Patrick Cantlay.
Bryson got a half.
He got a half, but
Right.
he didn't win his match. It's just something to talk about with these guys were gassed. 72 holes in 2 days is a lot of golf to play, and then you got to come out here and somehow take down. You know, that's where the opportunity was with Justin today, is to get a depleted Tommy.
Mm-hmm.
That was still, I think, one of the most impressive wins of the day. With JT not having near his best stuff, to be able to take down Tommy, who was an animal this week. An animal. He was 4-0 heading into today. I was very proud of JT to get that point.
Well, and it sounds like the Scotty Rory match was sort of a war of attrition. I mean, both guys seem like they're absolutely gassed. And it's just 2 5-match guys. Someone has to win or have, and it was just, it looked like it was exhausting coming down the stretch.
Scotty said that in his interview after. He said that him and Rory were laughing about it, walking down the fairway, just saying, "Are you as tired as I am?" He's like, "Yes, I'm dying. Do you want to fake injuries and go to 18? Yes."
Yeah, I mean, and this had to have been, I'm curious from guys you talked to, somehow more emotional even than a regular Ryder Cup, just given the ups and downs and the engagement with the crowds and the questions that are being asked beyond the golf.
build-up, man.
The build-up, the intensity of it while you're in it, and then on the back end, just, trying to process what just happened. Because I think a lot of people felt like, and this is really a credit to the American team, because they very easily could have just shown up, mailed it in, and win a few matches, so it's not some blowout. They don't get to 20 points, but just it's a huge margin for them to show up as exhausted. And we the boys brought the songs this week. The boys brought the songs, but I thought, I mean, I'll be really curious to see what these guys say in the post-game press conferences when we start to break those down, because I think a lot of guys, this was a big emotional spin this week across the board.
100%. It's going to be fun to hear what is said after. I know guys from that European team that probably will have a lot they can say. I hope they try to take as much of a high road as they can, because these guys are playing in the States so often, and they're so easy to root for. So many of these players that I have so much respect for, and it's a shame that they had to go through what they went through.
Yeah.
But if part of me, like, I never want anything said poorly about any player, but I think the home field advantage or the home course advantage should mean something in a Ryder Cup in some way, shape, or form. Now, did it cross the line? Yes. I hate when players have to back off shots for people being idiots. I want that to go away and stop. I hope it never happens again. But you have to have a lot of respect for these people showing out today, because it was a raucous environment.
It was what I hoped the entire Ryder Cup was going to be in terms of, with some small exceptions. But even like a guy like Rory, what a roller coaster week for Rory, where he starts the week saying, I still think America's the greatest country in the world. My wife's from here, my daughter was born here. And, he goes through what he goes through this week, and Erica gets hit by a drink yesterday, like all the stuff that happens.
I didn't know that. That sucks.
It's just, I think to me, it's, you could say whatever you want about me. We heard some weight jokes, all this stuff. Now, I'm not saying that's out of bounds, but I'm saying say whatever you want about me. Don't bring my family in it. I'd be just as hot if that was the case.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, incredible week. Jackson, what was your highlights?
Let's bring Jackson. He's holding lights. Why don't you bring the lights over here and like put them underneath your face like you're telling a ghost story?
Why don't you interview Jax? I'll hold the lights.
Okay, there we go. Smiles. Come on now. We got look at this. Look at this. Wait, hold on. You hold this microphone. All right, and wait.
I probably look quite disheveled right now.
This is great. We're gonna add this in as B-roll. While you tell us about the Ryder Cup, and then we're gonna insert Smylie holding lights as B-roll. This is really, really good stuff.
Man, I'll tell you what, it was, today was something special. I sat in the media viewing center over 18 pretty much the entire day. Got to see every single one of these electric moments out here to finish, and just hearing the kind of like slow crescendo of the energy around here throughout the day, and it coming down to some of these final matches. It was something I'll never forget. Can't thank you guys enough, honestly.
Was it ever... Question from the crowd. You've played in some football arenas.
Yep.
Have you ever heard some crowd pops quite as loud as maybe some at North Dakota State?
Oh man, absolutely not. We had one game at Iowa in 2016 with the game-winning kick. That was close, but this that crowd pop on 18 today with JT was something I was not ready for, and I'll never forget. That was incredible.
Quick other question: was that final score? Was it 3-0 Iowa?
23-21. Right. Good guys. Good guys.
We have to go with you in the cart. We have to get your cart. Are we done? From a great year from the Smylie Show crew. See you. See you.
What an ending.
What a great way to end it. That's great.
Well, Shadur, which quarterbacks are you talking about? Because there's some bad quarterback play out there, but the dude who can't beat Dylan Gabriel out for a job and can't beat Joe Flacco out for a job certainly can't lay claim to being better than any other quarterback in the league.
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
That's a lot for a closer. 10. You're not a closer anymore if you blow 10 games. My goodness. That's
he's mentally broken too. Like, it's to the point where like Dodger fans aren't even mad at him; they're more mad at the Dodgers for putting him out there.
Putting him in.
Right? It's more so.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, guys, like, he's done.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Major League Baseball has decided it is time to put balls and strikes not just in the hands of the umpires, but also the robot umpires, as they say. The ABS system is now officially in place starting next season. Now, keep in mind, they're not just throwing this out there. They have used this at the Arizona Fall League, and they've also used it at different levels of the minor leagues as well.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Everything changed at that point. They went and got Jonquel Jones, and they really had that triple threat monster team. That second year they lost in the WNBA Finals, 3-1 against the Las Vegas Aces. Year 3, they finally get over the top hump. You can question whether they should have won the title with that foul call late in Game 5 that sent Breanna Stewart to the foul line.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.